What is going on, kings and queens of this wonderful wonderland that we call YouTube? It's the Mad Hatter coming to you once again as the disembodied voice in your head. This time, it's to show you part 2 of my game collection mini-series. Today, as you can see, we're going to be talking about the NES and SNES portions of my collection. Now, a quick little disclaimer before we get too far into things. In terms of numbers, this is definitely going to be the weakest portion of my collection. Essentially, what is here that you're looking at right now is all there is. I haven't been able to do too much shopping to add to these collections. Essentially, what is here is everything that came with the systems when we bought them. And the reason for that is that, under the right and normal circumstances, when it comes to current gen stuff like the Switch or the Xbox One or the PS4, I can run to the store if I have the money and buy pretty much anything I want. With retro stuff like this, it works a little bit differently. I can only go shopping for this stuff essentially once every 6 months for my birthday and Christmas when my family gives me money to do so. Now, when you have a collection with as many systems as mine, you really have to not only spend your money wisely to get as much as you can for the amount of money you have or that you're given, but you also have to decide what to put your focus on. What do I want? What part of my collection do I want to add to? What part of my collection do I want to see grow? For instance, for my birthday earlier this summer, in June, I decided to focus the majority of my efforts on my GameCube and PS1 collections, because I really hadn't had anything too great or too awesome to show for those two, and I really decided that my birthday was going to be the time when I finally sat down and bought some really cool things for the GameCube and PS1. I don't know what Christmas is going to bring this time around. Maybe I'll add to one of these two this year. I don't know. But I just want to make it clear that these collections here are pathetic only because I haven't gotten around to it. It's not that I don't want to buy them or I'm not interested in them. If I wasn't interested in these guys, then I probably wouldn't have them at all. Definitely, I wouldn't have bothered to buy the classic editions that I'll show you in a couple minutes here. But yeah, the majority of my problem is I have just focused a lot of time and attention to other aspects of my collection that you'll see later on in the series. But yeah, there's definitely a desire, and I will have more to show you sometime later. With that being said, though, I don't think there's going to be too many surprises. What you see is what you get here. And it's going to go relatively quick, so we might as well just get into it and start things off with Tetris. After that, we have my girlfriend's 2 favorite games on the NES system, Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt. Over on the Super Nintendo side of things now, we have Raiden Trad. I had to read the upper label because I'm either too blind or too stupid to read that one, I guess. I don't know. But Raiden Trad. Madden 96. After that, we have Super Punch-Out. Next, we have what I would probably consider my favorite game on the Super Nintendo console so far that I own, Killer Instinct. And finishing things up for us, we have Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. And there you have it, guys. I mean, as far as my physical cartridges, that's it as far as my collection goes thus far. It's really pathetic, really weak, and kind of embarrassing. But I do have to say that my saving grace for these collections is just the simple fact that I possess these bad boys. Now, if you're a pretty hardcore collector, I don't think I have to explain to you why these things are so important and so special to have in your collection. But if you are somebody that is watching this that doesn't know what these are, or maybe you're somebody that hasn't been able to see one in person because they're so hard to find. Essentially, what these are miniaturized versions of both the NES and the SNES consoles. They literally fit in the palm of your hand. And each one contains, I know the NES, contains 30 games. The Super Nintendo one contains less. But essentially they contain really the best of the best when it comes to the library of said consoles. And I'm just going to quickly read them off. You won't be able to probably see them very clearly, so I'll just show you the back of the box here while I read off what is in the NES Classic. Number 1, we have Balloon Fight. Number 2 is Bubble Bobble. Number 3 is Castlevania. Number 4 is Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. Number 5 is Donkey Kong. 6 is Donkey Kong Jr. 7, Double Dragon 2, The Revenge. 8 is Dr. Mario. 9 is Excite Bike. 10 is Final Fantasy. 11 is Galaga. 12, Ghosts and Goblins. 13 is Gradius. 14 is Ice Climber. 15 is Kid Icarus. 16 is Kirby's Adventure. 17 is Mario Bros. 18, Mega Man 2. 19 is Metroid. 20 is Ninja Gaiden. 21 is Pac-Man. 22 is the original Punch-Out. 23, Star Tropics. 24, Super C. 25, Super Mario Bros. 26, Super Mario Bros. 2. 27, Super Mario Bros. 3. 28, Tecmo Bowl. 29, Legend of Zelda. And 30, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. So as you can see, I mean, this is a pretty solid little console. Definitely worth the money if you can find one. You know, the probably doesn't have every game that we could wish for. I'm sure some of you watching probably have some nostalgia with some games. Maybe some lesser known games that are personally your favorites that didn't make it. But I think overall, in terms of the the NES's library, it's a pretty solid little collection. But I would argue that the Super Nintendo is even better, and I will explain to you why that is when we go over this list. Kicking things off here, we have Contra 3: The Alien Wars, Donkey Kong Country, Earthbound, Final Fantasy 3, F-Zero, Kirby's Dream Course, Kirby Superstar, Mega Man X, Secret of Mana, Star Fox, the original Star Fox, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Castlevania 4, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario RPG, Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Super Punch-Out, lots of supers on this little booger. The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Yoshi's Island, and if these games weren't enough to make you want to pick this bad boy up, the last one here is, of course, Star Fox 2. Now, if you don't know why this game is so important, it's because this game was a game they made that they never released. A physical copy of it, to my knowledge, doesn't exist. So, to make this definitely even more of a collector's item, they threw it on this little guy. And I have played Star Fox 2 a little bit. I haven't played too much of it. I haven't beaten it by any means, but I can tell you that the game looks awesome. Every game on these things look really, really awesome. And I just have to say that I am very, very excited and proud to own these things. You know, they're really hard to find. Which is the reason why when I show these to people, the first thing they ask is, how did you find them? And you know, if you're wondering that same thing, all I'm going to tell you is the same way everybody else does. I'm either you know, unfortunate enough to pay a scalper top dollar like I did with this one, or I'm just in the right place at the right time like I was with this one. But you know, if you're fortunate enough to find one, to be able to afford one at the time, don't hesitate to pick them up. And if I remember correctly, these are now probably more accessible than ever because they re-released this one, and I think this one just had higher numbers overall. So I think they are pretty easy to find these days, all things considered. But yeah, I mean, if you're an NES lover or an SNES lover, you're definitely gonna want to pick these guys up, and I'll tell you why I love these so much. And why these are really kind of the strengths of my collection is because, like we discussed earlier, my physical games that I have for these two systems are really kind of lacking, for lack of a better term. And obviously, these two systems contain, what can be considered the best of the best on both consoles. So if you're a collector who likes to buy things without hurting your wallet too much, this is probably the way to go. You know, because for me, I look at it as, some of these games, to get the physical copies of them, the physical cartridges, they probably aren't cheap. So I'm definitely glad that I have these in my collection that are accessible to play. Obviously, like any collector, definitely my goal is and always will be to someday get every game that is on these on in physical form. But for now, these work just as well, if not even better, because they're relatively cheap. They're pretty portable, so you don't have to lug your giant NES or your giant SNES around. You can basically put them in a backpack or anything, and yeah, they're super lightweight, super easy to travel with, and super cool. So like I said, definitely if you're able to find one and afford one, pick them up. If nothing else sells you on them, let Star Fox 2 sell you on this one. Pick this up to own a part of gaming history, as far as I'm concerned. But overall, that should about do it, guys. I think that's my entire collection in a nutshell. I know this video, or this portion of my collection, was really lackluster compared to my Atari collection and compared to anything else that I'm going to show you in this series, but I promise the next videos from this point out will definitely be a little bit more. I'll definitely have more to show. But, we can't all have giant collections. And I'm definitely still proud to own what I do, and I'm super excited to add to the collection and watch it get bigger. So on that note, guys, that'll pretty much do it for the video. As always, I just have to kind of self-promote myself. If you look up in the banner, of course, there's my Twitter, my 2 Facebooks, which are connected to Book Things. More importantly, as far as YouTube goes, you're probably going to want to start following my Instagram, because that's where I post pictures and thumbnails for videos before I film them. So if you're really into my YouTube stuff and are just dying to know what video is coming up around the corner and you don't want to wait to find out from YouTube, Instagram is the place to be. As far as YouTube goes, as always, guys, just like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure that you hit that little notification bell so you know when new videos, such as Part 3, go up. And just make sure that you don't miss anything that I put up on the channel. With that, guys, as always, I salute you. And remember, we're all mad here.